Perhaps you have thoughts that are critical towards yourself. Perhaps you are doubting yourself before an interview. Perhaps you are doubting yourself in your career, in school, or at home. When those thoughts come in and they question yourself, answer those thoughts. Challenge them with what other people say about you. Overthinking is when our minds get stuck in a loop of repetitive thoughts. Overthinking can happen relating to events and situations in the future or in the past. If you find yourself suffering from overthinking regularly, sometimes that can be an indication of anxiety. After all, when we're thinking, we're not being present. Thought is when we're up in our heads rather than actually where we are in the world, doing what we're supposed to be doing. An example of overthinking would be that meeting that's coming up that you just can't get off your mind. Another example might be thinking back over some previous conversations and being unable to remember exactly how things went and letting your mind go in circles. So why do we overthink? One common reason is fear. We are constantly faced with uncertainty in our lives in many different directions, and our minds aren't designed to cope with that uncertainty. And so often we'll fill the void with endless thoughts that spiral out of our control. When we fear something, rather than confront our fear, we will often respond by overthinking. For example, perhaps there is an uncomfortable conversation that we need to have, and rather than have that conversation and confront and overcome our fear, we will overthink about the conversation without actually doing it. Overthinking can be triggered by different scenarios. For instance, it may be something at work or school. It may even be having to make a decision. Sometimes it can be triggered by personal insecurities as well. It's important to recognize which of these causes is triggering your overthinking to better understand how you can stop it. How do we know we're overthinking? There are a few signs to look out for. For instance, if you're going to bed and find that you've got uncontrollable racing thoughts, that could be an indicator you're overthinking. When we're overthinking, our mind will come up with endless possibilities and hypothetical scenarios that are often catastrophic for us. Another way to recognize and acknowledge your overthinking is to isolate when you are being indecisive, when you are caught between two different decisions and can't make up your mind, when other people would be able to figure out what they were going to do fairly quickly. Or perhaps you're replaying a past event or a decision over and over again in your mind. It's natural to overthink, and we all do it from time to time. Ultimately, we need to understand why we're overthinking and have a look at some tips that can help us stop getting caught in that cycle. The first tip is to recognize and acknowledge your overthinking pattern and become aware of when you're overthinking. One sign you may be overthinking is when you don't feel very present in a situation. You may find that you're not really tuned into your environment and you're tuned in to the voice in your own head. Perhaps you have thoughts that are critical towards yourself. Perhaps you are doubting yourself before an interview. Perhaps you are doubting yourself in your career, in school, or at home. When those thoughts come in and they question yourself, answer those thoughts. Challenge them with what other people say about you. One example of challenging your thoughts would be if you have a job interview. Perhaps a thought pops into your head, what if they don't think I'm good enough for the position? You can challenge that thought by using the evidence of what your colleagues, your friends, and your family think about your ability to do the job. Ask them. Use that evidence to counter the thought in your head and change it, so you can start believing that you are good enough. Practice mindfulness and grounding techniques. Your thoughts naturally remove you from the experience of your senses. One way to get out of your thoughts and get out of overthinking is to tune into those senses. Consider what you see, consider what you hear, consider what you can touch. All of these experiences draw you away from thinking and draw you out of your own head. Set aside a specific worry time. This is particularly useful if there is a specific event in the future that you're overthinking about. You could set aside 5 minutes at the start of the day and say, I'm going to get all of my worry out in this 5 minutes. And then once that 5 minutes is over, you will have gotten all the worry out of your system because you will have let all of it pass through your own mind. Take action. Overthinking wants you to keep thinking. Instead of dwelling on your thoughts, take practical steps towards solving the issue at hand. This could be taking some exercise, for instance, going for a run. Perhaps it would be socializing, or another form of distraction that can get you out of your head. We often believe thinking is something that serves us in every situation we face and encounter. But in reality, there are many situations where thinking isn't serving us, and perhaps we'd be far better served by using our emotions or our intuition. Cognitive behavioural therapy will help you change your core beliefs by changing your behaviours. Cognitive behavioural therapy will look to put you in situations where thinking is no longer serving you, so you can learn to function without thought, so that your overthinking won't control you anymore. Overthinking is a common challenge, but it doesn't have to control our lives. By implementing certain strategies and using certain tips, we can learn to control our overthinking, so that it doesn't rule our day-to-day experience.